The kid couldn't have been older than 22 or 23, but he exuded an air of entitlement that was impossible to miss. He was a very important person, at least in his own eyes. "Who is he?" Gage asked. "Kat said he's some big shots kid. That's how he got up here." The younger guy's dark eyes were checking out every woman in the lounge. He made no attempt to hide it either, as if it was his right to leer. Gage felt vindicated by the knowledge that the kid's beautiful date had ditched him. "Tell him we don't sell skin here," he said coolly. "If he can't find a girl who'll fuck him for free, he can go out on the street corner like any other John." Carla snorted. "Gotcha." Man, he really hated some of the clientele that frequented Sin. Every night he encountered at least one rich, pretentious ass who thought the world owed him something. Case in point, this smug-faced creep inquiring about procuring the services of a whore. As part owner, Gage supposed he had the right to throw the guy out, but Reed and AJ would tear him a new one if they found out he was sending away big spenders. And big spender indeed. Gage glanced back in time to see Carla delivering a $600 bottle of whiskey to the table. And the douchebag was now making eyes at the cute, not-a-prostitute redhead seated at the VIP bar. Good. She ought to occupy him for a while. Gage touched his earpiece. "Yo, Jesse, get up here and take over. Gonna pop out for a cigarette." The bouncer's baritone voice crackled in his ear. "Got it, boss." He waited until he spotted Jesse's close-cropped head weaving through the crowd. In between flashes of strobe, Gage saw the crowd part without delay for the muscular man, which made him smile. He'd handpicked all the bouncers himself, with only two required traits in the hiring process: reliable and intimidating as fuck. Jesse fit both of those to a T. As the other bouncer ascended the steps up to the lounge, Gage headed for the emergency exit on the other side of the room. He strode down the narrow staircase, emerging a moment later in the alley behind the building. He rummaged in his pocket for his e-cigarette, lifted his head, and froze. His blue-eyed angel sat 8 feet away. Slender body up on the wooden crate next to the staff door, chestnut brown hair falling over one shoulder, dress riding up her thighs to reveal long, silky legs. He sucked in a breath. Lord, she was even more appealing up close. Not beautiful in the Hollywood sense, but intriguingly attractive in a very real way. The enormous blue eyes were her best feature, and her mouth was just pouty enough to conjure up the image of plump lips wrapped around his dick. Gage cleared his throat. "You shouldn't be out here." She jumped at the sound of his voice, head swiveling and gaze flying to his. She instantly hopped off the crate, smoothing out the front of her dress as a frown creased her lips. "Why not?" "A pretty girl all alone in an alley at midnight? I don't think it needs much more explanation than that." He inhaled a quick drag of the e-cigarette. The mint-flavored vapor was no substitute for a real smoke, and he wasn't sure why he even bothered with it. "I just needed some air." Her voice was huskier than he'd imagined it would be. Sexier. "I'll go back inside soon." Wait, she'd only come outside for air? And her date had been asking about prostitutes in her absence? Wow, real stand-up guy. "It's so crowded in there," she added. "Nightclubs usually are," he said dryly. "Yeah, I guess they are. I'm not much of a clubber, but Mick wouldn't take no for an answer. He said I haven't lived until I've gone to sin." A sigh slipped out. "It's our first date." Gage waited for her to continue. When she didn't, he filled in the rest. "And you're not at all into him." "Why do you say that?" His gaze slid back to hers, slow and purposeful. "Because if you were, you wouldn't have been eye-fucking me all night." Her breath hitched, cheeks growing the most appealing shade of pink. He had to laugh. "Am I wrong?" The denial he'd expected didn't come.